order, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to ask you to please stand for the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement, the National Anthem, and then we can sit down. Thank you.
We begin this meeting by acknowledging that Quinte West is on Indigenous land that has been inhabited by Indigenous peoples from the beginning. We thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Long before today, there have been Indigenous peoples who have been the stewards of this place. In particular, we acknowledge the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte First Nation. This territory is covered by numerous treaties. We recognize and deeply appreciate their historic connection to this place. We also recognize the contribution of the Métis, Inuit, and other Indigenous peoples have made, both in shaping and strengthening this community in particular, and our province and country as a whole. This acknowledgement serves as recognition of the contributions and historical significance of Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island and demonstrates our collective commitment to meet the promises and address the challenges of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission within our community.
Thank you very much for being here. I'm pleased to acknowledge we've got some great people here tonight, not just, and they're coming with, I know they're coming with a good message for us, and if they're not, we'll make it a good message. We'll do our best to support you. And I thank you very much, Chief Whalen and Detachment Commander O'Byrne. I'm glad you're here too, because doesn't look like O'Byrne to me. Jeremy. Yeah, great. Okay, well, sorry about that. I was close. You got the right uniform. And I appreciate you being here, because when you look at what's happening in other parts of our province at some council meetings, we're able to have a harmonious, productive meeting. And I believe what we're able to achieve is based on the fact that we've got good people here and we've got a secure system, and I appreciate that very much. So, thank you. I'm going to ask Council for any particular remarks you'd like to make at this time. Councillor Armstrong.
On Saturday, February 22nd, coldest night of the year event is taking place. The Trenton Care and Share Food Bank is one of the teams that's involved. It's across the country. I think Grace Inn is doing it. And if you have a team of people to help raise money, that's great. If you don't have a team, you can join in one of the other teams. And it starts at 4. The event does. The walk starts at 5 till about 6. And then they're returning to the food bank to have a little luncheon after.
So you want to also thank the farmers. Why would you want to thank the farmers as well?
I'd like to thank all of the farmers and all the truckers and everybody else that's involved in the food industry.
Well, good. I agree with you. Thank you.
My grandfather'd be proud.
Yes, that's right. And we're all eating well. We're all eating well. Councillor Stittle?
Just wanted to say it was wonderful on Saturday to see so many flags being raised, Canadian flags for Flag Day. I know there were lots around our area, and I believe there was somebody that was patrolling to take a look and post some pictures on Facebook, so that was awesome to see that. And just a reminder about the election on February 27th, that there actually is some information that's on Elections Ontario website, and there is some preliminary voting that can be done both here in Quinte West, in Battawa, and at the library. The pre-advanced voting is tomorrow, February 20th to the 22nd, at those two locations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I'd like to put out a good word to all the first responders. It's been a trying time the last couple of weeks with the weather conditions. And speaking of weather conditions, my hat's off to the Public Works Department. I know they've been kept very busy. I was speaking with acting CEO Chris Angelo, and there's been some long days. I know they're no sooner get a road plowed and the wind's been blowing and it drifts in and they're back again. So my hat's off to you. And tie the two together. The first responders couldn't get to some of these scenes that they have to get to if it wasn't for our Public Works and Department of Highways and people keeping the roads open again. So thank you very much.
And I pay them to do Harrison Road. Do you pay them to do Allier Road, or?
We get it gratis.
I'm just kidding. Thank you very much. I appreciate the service. Councillor Allier.
Yes, I just want to echo all the help, police and for all those first responders and the roads crews and everything. Last week it was a double whammy with both those big storms, but if anybody lacks snow, being the caring, sharing person I've got lots of stockpiled if you want some, so I'll even load it for you if you want it. So other than that, thanks to everybody for the effort you do.
Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. I also did want to thank the Public Works crews over the recent winter weather that we've had. Certainly done a great job by all measures. I also wanted to point out that there is a Black History Month event at These Four Walls this February 22nd, 1 to 3 p.m. It's a free event, family friendly, third annual Joy and Wellness family friendly event. Looking to attend and think it's going to be a great afternoon, so just wanted to let everyone know about that.
What's the date again?
February the 22nd, 1 to 3 p.m.
Thank you.
These Four Walls in Trenton.
Okay. Councillor Kosovas.
Thank you. Good news story. The Center Theatre was purchased by Film.ca Entertainment Corporation and is planning on reopening in the spring.
Good news, right on. Councillor Sharp, please, and then Councillor Boyce.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to recognize how lucky we are to have the Battawa Ski Hill. It was great weather, great conditions on the weekend and for Family Day. But like Councillor Elliott, I didn't need to go there because I have a ski hill on my front yard. But it's just wonderful. The families were having a great time, and we're so lucky. And also the events that were at the rinks for the families. I also want to highlight that we have a Parks and Recreation Master Plan open house coming up. There's Director Grimm, and I believe it's next Thursday at the Marina from 2 to 4, Jacqueline? If you could correct me.
Thank you, through Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Sharp. Next Wednesday afternoon and evening from 4 to 7 p.m. at the Trentport Marina.
Thank you very much. And there is information online, so we'd really like you to have your comments with respect to that draft information. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Boyce, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I echo the comments you made earlier about our OPP and our fire services being second to none. Like I often say, for the years that I've been living in Quinte West, I have witnessed ride programs, more ride programs than I ever did in my previous municipality. So I applaud the OPP for the work that they do. And I mean, they're out there, it's not just December, they're out there June and August. And then I read in the online news this weekend about 4 impaired charges locally. And first of all, I want to applaud the OPP for the work that they do to apprehend these people. And it seems to me that, I'm reading more and more, and it's not just the Quinte West area, it's seems to be Eastern Ontario, that we're getting a lot of impaired people being caught, whether it's drugs or alcohol or what have you. And perhaps we can hear from the detachment commander a reminder of what exactly happens to an individual. It's not that they just lose their license for so many months, and God forbid if they hurt an innocent person, but what are the other repercussions that happen to an individual that gets picked up? Because the message has got to get out there, and I know our OPP are very diligent and they work hard to catch them, but there are people still doing it, and it just surprises me.
Through your worship, Council Boyce, we focus primarily on the public safety aspect of impaired driving. Of course, there are financial consequences to that as well, in having an administrative driver's license suspension upon being charged for 90 days, as well as vehicle impoundment for a period of time. So oftentimes there's that financial impact to the individual that's charged, along with long-lasting insurance repercussions and such. But our focus is primarily on the public safety aspect and just the inherent risk of the behavior, and that it doesn't matter how short the trip might be, a few blocks. A lot of collisions take place within a few blocks of someone's house or place of work. So no distance is a safe distance to drive impaired, to be quite frank.
And just again, I applaud you, and just keep having your men and women officers getting out there and reminding the public that there's going to be a ride program set up any time. It's not just December. It could be June. And it's not going to be necessarily on the main streets. I know I've witnessed them on side streets that I would have never thought they would be there. So I mean, just keep plugging away, and hopefully the message will get out to everyone before somebody innocent gets hurt.
Councillor Reid.
Thank you. I think Councillor Stedall and Councillor Sharp have already hit on two of my items. It's wonderful to see all the Canadian flags that are being raised, whether they're in snowbanks or on the front of your house, or it's just wonderful to see that. It would be lovely to have Quinte West covered in Canadian flags. And I had wanted to mention about the Parks and Rec open house, master plan open house. That's great. But I also want to mention too that Frankfurt Lions Club is still continuing on with their appeal for clean twin sheets for children to help the Children's Aid Society, and you can contact Yana at 613-398-1438 if you can help with that. The children wanted clean sheets, so thank you, and thank you, of course, to our Public Works Department who excel at their job. They keep us safe with their snow plowing and salting and sanding and the sidewalks and the roads. So thank you very much, Public Works. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you're shopping for sheets, buy me a set and I'll pay you and donate them, I promise. You have to, I did try to make a donation and they didn't want the money, they want the sheets. And you know how much shopping I do? Well, that's my problem. Thank you.
I'll pick up a set of sheets for you and donate them for you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Quinte.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor. Certainly echoing all the comments regarding Public Works and their hard work. Yes, I continued to wave at the snowplow driver as he filled in the end of my driveway, but I know he's got to do his job and keep the road clear. Echoing comments from Councillor Sharp regarding the long-awaited public meeting for the master parks plan. Hoping that I will be able to attend that next week. And just to follow up with Councillor Boyce's plea for people, this is impaired driving of any sort has been going on since I was a teenager, learning how to drive. So how we get the message out anymore, I don't know, because if you don't want to drive again afterwards, it may only cost you about $10,000 to defend yourself. But if you were hoping to drive again, it might be as much as $30,000 to get back to driving again, with the cost of equipment you have to buy for your car, the courses you have to take. You could lose your job if you're required to have a license to get to work or to drive as part of your work. It really can be a devastating effect on your whole family, not to mention harm you may cause to somebody else. And if you damage your vehicle and in the incident and are later convicted, the insurance company doesn't pay for those damages. So that can get really hefty. So thanks very much. I apologize for not being able to attend last week's meeting, and let's move forward. Thank you.
It impacted a lot of people, not just you. So, anything else from staff? Chief Whalen.
Yes, Your Worship. Just wanted to comment that their detachment commander, Christina Reef, she's back now. As you know, they did a bit of a rotation as they were shorthanded. And this is my colleague beside me, Staff Sergeant Jeremy Doolin, and he's been in another detachment. I know you know Jeremy, you just didn't recognize him tonight, so thank you.
Well, I didn't look, I was thinking instead of looking, you're right. But and you're right, Inspector Reeve is back, and, but just for a short period. I keep sending her a complaint. The complaint I have is to remove her resignation, but it's not working. So anyways, all good things come to an end, I guess, but that's, anything else that I've omitted? Anything else from anybody? Okay, we're good. Okay, any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Declare that closed. Approval of the agenda. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Boyce, move. Seconder, Councilor McHugh. All in favor? Carried, thank you. And move approval of the minutes and the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February the 5th. And the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 5th be approved, and further minutes of the closed session. So further minutes of the personnel, so we got them all. Councilor Siddall moves, seconded by Councilor Sharp. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, well, we're into delegations and petitions, and we have President Mark Kirkpatrick here, and he has some support with him as well, and he's going to help explain to us I guess you'd say the provincial plan, whatever it might be, but it doesn't mean we have to accept it. We just have to listen, and we'll make sure that we let the appropriate people know we're not happy with the plan.
That was good. Is on or?
He's bringing you up.
Oh, that's been, do I have to push this button or? Oh, no. Oh, good? Okay. Well, thank you for your time today. There's been a lot of information about what's happening at Loyalist College and the challenges that we're facing. Although I'll provide you some context into that item, I want to bring awareness to what this could mean to your community and the surrounding region as Loyalist contracts among massive cuts. This is actually from the act that created colleges, and actually to this day defines colleges in our mandates. And really what I wanted to emphasize to you on the bottom of this is that one of our mandates is to support the economic and social development of the local and diverse communities. This means we are community colleges and we should be focused in on our communities. This is a slide that I used a lot because it's fundamental to who we strive to be, and in short it means this. Just because Loyalist is a region that is made up of smaller towns, villages, and hamlets, it does not mean that the people and the businesses of our region deserve less from their post-secondary system than those from larger cities across Ontario. This has traditionally been a challenge, and of late we've been making some great strides to close that gap. However, what you're seeing now in small-town rural Eastern Ontario is the severe reduction of post-secondary programming and thereby affordable access to post-secondary education for rural Ontario. Perth is closed, Brockville, Cornwall, and Lindsay have had massive cuts, and to the point where each of them can only offer a very small number of programs. Although we are cutting 30% of our programming, because it is your home campus and we are local, we are maintaining more local access than many of those other rural areas of the province. To be clear, I'm not blaming the other colleges as they are doing what they need to do to make their economics work. But like no region I've seen, this province in the small rural eastern Ontario is being hit very hard. How did we get here? Very quickly, IRCC put in place caps on the number of international students allowed into this country. That was split across the provinces, and the provinces split them across the institutions. Reasons behind these reductions were housing and the pressures on healthcare. However, the real damage by the federal government was reputational, where they spoke very poorly of the Canadian post-secondary system, that we no longer welcome international students. Now, I want to state this and be clear that international students are far more than money. They have made the learning environment better. They have contributed to our region by working hard when in school and when they graduate. They have created new businesses, added to the cultural fiber of a region, and so much more. What the loss of international tuition meant to us was that this was what was used to subsidize the operations of colleges for the last decade. And it brought to light the decades-long underfunding of the Ontario college system. For every dollar spent in the rest of Canada, Ontario spends 44 cents. For domestic enrollment, we have two sources of funding. A grant, which has been frozen for a decade and nominally increased the decade before. Then it's not per student funding. And tuition, which was cut by 10% and frozen at 2015 levels. So in essence, we're running a business on 2015 revenue. Both the Auditor General and the Provincial Blue Ribbon Panel noted the risk to Ontario with the overdependence on international tuition and recognized the great risk to Ontario's rural colleges. The cost to deliver in less populated areas of this province are significantly higher. Oops. This is just a quick bar chart to show you just how far behind Ontario is from the rest of Canada. Ontario is roughly half of the number 9 spot, which is Quebec, and we're about, and Saskatchewan, which is at the top of the list, is about 300% higher than what Ontario funds the college system. And as we start a possible trade war, Ontario is not positioned to develop and retain this workforce as we need to move forward. In actual fact, we're contracting the ability, and especially in our regions. This graph just simply shows that in the last 17 years, Ontario colleges have enrolled more domestic students with less financial support than we've ever had before. The one thing that's different about this chart, this is across post-secondary, and you'll see that the top line is enrollment. It's declining. Actually, if you look at Loyalist College, we're actually massively increasing domestic enrollment. Our enrollment is growing very, very quickly. So, what does that mean at our college? We're staring at a $40 million reduction in tuition revenue over 2015-2016, and more to follow. And this funding that we had at that point was historically covered our capital, covered upfront costs for new programming. Today, we could not begin to bring forward a mechatronics program or an MRT program. For example, MRT cost us $2.5 million just to launch. There's no special funding for that. We've used it to upgrade our labs, our equipment in our classrooms, and subsidize the cost of delivery of domestic programming to ensure access at a regional level. What we've had to do to move forward is make some very gut-wrenching decisions. We've had to make a 30% reduction in post-secondary programming. It's roughly 24 programs that are going to be suspended. 20% reduction in our workforce, closure of our Toronto campus. There's going to be no new capital, and we've instituted austerity measures on all expenses. But here's what I wanted to focus a bit on today, is what's the impact on Quinte West? Loyalist has been a huge net immigration engine for young people, both international and domestic, for this region. With the aging population, we need to bring young people into the region to work, contribute to the economy, and drive growth. Demographics show we need to get younger. Loyalist has been making that happen, but it'll be much less in the coming years. We're suspending programs that are needed in our region, and we know that, for the workforce, because we can no longer afford to run them. Remember back when I said, when I said the federal government made immigration change because of housing and healthcare. Well, if you follow the dots, from then to what you're seeing now at Loyalist and colleges across the province, programs that create skilled workers to build houses are being cut because they're expensive to run. And many of the students that enter programs like PSW are international, and they won't be there. With an expected reduction of 1,000 to 1,500 international students this fall, there will be a massive drop in the available part-time labor that supports our service and manufacturing sectors. And when they graduate, which they won't be here to graduate, they will not be here to fill the full-time skilled jobs that are needed in our workforce, or be the new business leaders that support our longer-term economic growth. The economic impact of the cuts go deep and wide as Loyalist is so integrated in the regional economies and the social fabric of where we live. We project the impact of this one announcement will result in a 1% reduction in the regional GDP. Many staff in Quinte live in Quinte West, as do many students, and they will no longer have that ability to spend anymore. They either won't be here or they'll be without a job. Therefore, the businesses and the service organizations that depend on them will suffer. Loyalist is a strong partner to QEDC as we work very closely on both attracting and retaining businesses. Necessary cuts will limit our ability to support this work. The workforce they may be looking for may no longer be in this region. Loyalist spends upwards of $250,000 a year annually supporting regional festivals, events, and sporting activities. We no longer have the ability to do that. I fear the impact this may have on the sustainability of some of these events and initiatives, as Loyalist has been the largest sponsor for many of them. I understand the desire to keep tuition low and make it affordable for the taxpayer. However, this is quickly becoming a benefit for those that live in larger cities, as only those locations will have the variety of programming for the youth to take locally. Look at what is happening, as I said, in Perth, Lindsay, Brockville, Cornwall. These smaller locations are now offering only a handful of programs. These students and the ones in this region will have to make a decision to leave home at 4 times the cost because of housing, or we have now priced out the ability for students to get post-secondary education. We also know that when they leave, it is really hard to get them back. And so our college has been working really hard to align with our workforce to keep our young people here. And this, of course, only amplifies the urban-rural disparities that exist. And if you just bear with me for a minute, I'd like to do a quick visualization exercise with you. If you can just close your eyes and listen to me for a minute. Just pretend you're driving down the road and you are going at reasonable speed, you hit a patch of ice and you crash into a pool. You're bloodied and you're hurt and you're broken. No first responders show up. No police, no fire, no paramedics. Somehow you get yourself to a hospital. Some good Samaritan picks you up and gets you to a hospital. There's nobody there that's performing security. There's no intake, there's no triage, and there's no admin to get you booked. Somehow the doctor drags you back into an examination room. The doctor can't get any tests done. There's no labs that can be done. There's no nurses to support him. There's no support structures and his equipment is broken. This is what happens when colleges don't produce workers for the skilled workforce. Colleges matter, and that's how they matter. Thank you very much for your time.
Stay right there, Mark. I want to introduce your guests with you as well.
Sure, Marianne Henson and Hannah Brown. I think you all know Hannah.
I never saw her with the same color hair before, but I agree. Okay. Any questions, Councillor Boyce?
Thank you for coming. First of all, I want to say I'm a proud Loyalist alumni back in the lawn security days back in the 80s, and you know, I'm very concerned with what's happening. I want to touch on tuition rates. What are we projected to see for tuition rates percentage-wise going up? And what can we do as a council? I know the rates haven't gone up since I think you said 2015 in terms of what the province gives to us. What can we do as a council to help Loyalist, and you know, where are we going to see tuition rates? 15-20%?
No, tuition's frozen. The current government is frozen it through 26-27, so it'll still stay at 2015 rates, which is $2,700 roughly per year. That's the tuition for college education.
So there's no avenue whatsoever for the college to to add additional, right?
No,
And
no,
then
there's no ability to, I mean, if we, incremental domestic students don't increase our grant at all, because it's not per student based, it only increases that tuition. So if I get 10 extra students, that's roughly 27,000 a year.
so what
It
can?
doesn't buy a lot.
Yeah, what can we do, Mike?
I think one of the things I'm trying to do is just make sure people understand and are aware of the challenges. And I'm trying to make sure people understand how critical it is to less populated areas of the province. And I think the more we all make our voice heard, because, you know, we talk, like you talk to people in Toronto a lot, and it's really hard for people to understand the needs of our communities. And this isn't just about Loyalist. This is about the downloading on municipalities. This is about the underfunding of the hospital system. And the rural nature and the cost of delivery of that. We are just in that bucket. And we were able to self-sustain through subsidization through international tuition. But unfortunately, that avenue isn't there. We have to find other subsidization revenue, to be perfectly honest, to maintain domestic students.
And finally, then what will, we talked about the capital projects and obviously they're all on hold whatsoever. What's going to happen if, say, a couple of the residences really need work and different things? Where are you going to find the money for that?
Don't know.
Why?
So I'll be honest with you. So we do get something called a facilities renewal fund, which we get a portion that helps us, you know, fix broken windows and doors and stuff. But we're not allowed to use that on residents. Or anything outside. It's only allowed to be on the core of the building. So we'll continue to use that funding to keep us going. But our ability to bring on and launch any new programs that cost money, like there's an upfront capital, we will have to put on hold.
Councillor Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I appreciate Councillor Boyce's question, what can we do? And I'm really glad that you're here to share with us, and we can all share the message and look together for solutions. But when you suggested we close our eyes and what the impact is, and I guess I wanted to share my thought when I was doing that, and I had a few notes when I was thinking about this. My nephew works at the college in the trades, and he's very proud. And when everyone had to make these gut-wrenching decisions, you could feel, the sadness and the fear and the impact for the families, for the students. And, we love, our college is a staple and a foundation of what I call our extended family. And like many of us, and I know others will speak, I was able to get my human resources certification there. And I love that you have online outreach and in person. I was also able to get my municipal management programs there. So I was at the college a lot because it's about 10 or 15 courses each. And you walk through the halls and play in the sports, and it's all about all of these things that make up a community. And so I guess I feel for all of you and whatever we can do. And when you talk about the paramedic program there, the nursing program, the PSW program, and all of that impact to our paramedics, to our healthcare, to our hospitals, to everything, to education, our trades, our electricians, our mechanics, because I've got a heart for the mechanics there, because that's what my nephew teaches. And it's just, those are things we need, the skilled work trade to build when we're all dealing with affordable housing issues. Well, we need the skilled trades. I think of the hospitality, the program that, love the food there, by the way. And, where are the staff, the trained, skilled people going to come? We're going to be short without having all of our people that we care about. And it's just awful. And I know, we all know that, but what can we do? And we're going to share the message, and we're going to work together. And, we're going to bring it somewhat back, and we'll have to look at new ways. I don't know what they are, but I guess we feel this. We want to help with this, and the impact, we're not only going to feel today, for a long time to come. And I thank you for all that you're trying to do, the staff, the faculty, the students. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we are going to try to keep as much going as we can. But yeah, it will require, unless we can develop other, $40 million if you start a business, that's a lot of money to make in a short period of time. So, you know, we're not going to get there in a hurry, and we're going to need some support to get us through this hump.
Councilor Katsovas?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And my biggest takeaway from your presentation was, you hit it right nail on the head, was that we're losing the youth. So if they don't stay in our area, there's no one to fill those jobs, whether it is the trades or emergency services or anything for that matter, and that's very concerning.
Thank you. Councilor Card?
Thank you, Your Worship. It is extremely disappointing to hear the information that you brought here with the cuts and austerity. You know, these decisions, I'm sure, will be felt for the next generation in this region. You paint a very stark picture of all of the jobs and positions that will be affected by this, the program cuts and whatnot. You know, it's the intent to limit tuition increases is on its face a laudable goal. Keep education accessible, more financially accessible, but not at, you know, to be achieved by undercutting your ability to fund programs and operations to such an extent. It's kind of a self-defeating principle, if you will. There's not going to be college programs that are accessible even for that lower financial basis. But I think one of the aspects that is unique about the situation that you face is that the federal government is controlling some of these immigration totals, but it's actually the province that is dealing with the tuition freeze and your funding model, and also controls policy on housing and healthcare funding, the two issues cited by the federal government. So you're almost in an impossible situation in the sense that you know, it's two different entities, two different levels of government, almost kind of battling in that sense, and not able to get on the same page in terms of a holistic policy. That it is true, there is a housing crisis in our community. That is absolutely true. But you know, is this a solution, a Band-Aid from the federal government when, you know, there are other fixes that are not within their purview? So it's incredibly frustrating. I'm really disappointed, but thank you, and we can only help deliver the message and spread the word.
If you don't mind, I just pick up on your comment about tuition. As I said, it impacts this region far more. If you're in Toronto, for example, literally you just take a different bus route and you go to a different college and you can get your education. This is really a rural, smaller town issue.
Yes, thank you for your presentation. It's not a good news one in a sense, but we like you to keep us informed. My son went there also in the 80s. Civil engineering, it was his courses that he took. My daughter actually works there downtown in the CDS part of it there. But anyway, she's there trying to help find jobs, and it's quite a, she tells us a story, and then also about the cuts that are coming too. She's informed, I guess, of the inner workings. But this to me was when Loyalist College and all the community colleges were established, it seemed to me gave the rural people and people that maybe couldn't afford to go to the higher universities an outlet to get a higher education and a skill set, and whether it, as Councillor Sharp says, you know, in the trades or whatever, which is highly needed now. Everybody can't sit behind computers and do stuff. We need plumbers and electricians and whatever. So, you know, you've been a great outlet for that. And it's tough to see that you got to cut some of them courses and then move on and try to find some other way to do things. But I know you've got quite a course ahead of you to try to steer your ship on, and I wish you well. And I know we're here to give you any kind of help we can and get the message out there. But you've certainly been a valued institution for our area, and hopefully you can stay in the future too and progress further. Thank you.
Councillor McHugh.
Thank you, Mark. Again, a very insightful and sad news story. I think they got the right man at the right time in the right place, hopefully, to handle it. We'll certainly do our part to get it out. I have 4 of my children attended there. I took some night courses, but I think 9 out of 10 people I bump into have attended Loyalist College one way or another. And like you say, it was a big thing in our case financially. The children could get an education locally, stay at home. They weren't boarding anywhere, eating the meals at home, and Daddy knew where they were at night times, most of the time. But would it be advantageous at all? Like, you know, you've got our support if we were to put some kind of a letter or something together to both the federal and provincial government. I know we've been doing this for years. It seems like we're banging our head against the wall. We don't see any results, but it's just another thing that we could do collectively on behalf of the citizens here in Quinte West and for all of Hastings County that you represent at the school. Would that help? We haven't got any money to give you, unfortunately.
I'm not here looking for money.
But I know you're looking for moral support. We could do it that way. If that would be beneficial, I'd be more than happy at some point to have a motion put on that we have a letter sent to both the federal. I'm sure they're well aware of it, but sometimes a squeaky wheel gets oiled if we bang it enough.
I think any voice that can get added to the unique dynamics of this region is advantageous, because they are very different than other places in this province, and I think we need to get people to understand that.
Councillor Reid, any comments? Councillor Reid and Councillor Quince.
No, I have no comments. It's just, it's a very sad state. It's, Loyalist College has always been such an integral part of our community, and I guess we can just get the word out and hope that there will be some changes for the better. Thank you for your presentation.
Councillor Quince.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Like Councillor Boyce and Councillor Sharp, I also attended Loyalist College. My wife did, my daughter did, and agree with Councillor McHugh that we don't have any money to provide at this time because we have our own stresses that we're going through as a city. Many provincially legislated organizations like the colleges and conservation authorities are all frozen rates or frozen fees or frozen contributions from the province of Ontario, and it just so happens there's a provincial election coming up. So pick your party that best supports your political requests for the future. That's about all I have to say, and thanks very much, and keep going.
Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too, everybody in my household has been to Loyalist, and everybody in my community where we live, and it's the heart of our community. I mean, really, it is. In some respects, whether or not anybody's attended there full-time or part-time, everybody is touched with Loyalist College. And I think it's the big point that resonates with me is that it's we're different rural, and it's our community is different than, you know, big cities when they do have alternate choices, and we don't here. And I think that that's the biggest thing. I know, you know, being Quinte Access, I know they've got the bus routes that are going there, and they've, you know, been astoundingly populated with travelers lately, and so it's been growing, and to see this change is going to be, it's going to be detrimental to our community. So I think regardless of who it is that's going to be coming in, if it's whatever is with the province, is I would support a resolution that goes forward to say that we definitely are behind, this community is behind Loyalist College to make sure that we don't get cut any further.
Come back to that, okay. Councillor Armstrong?
Well, my mother took an adult course there to get her grade 13, and my brother and sister were Lancers. My son-in-law actually teaches there in the HVAC program, I guess it is. So I see the importance of it. Plus, being an educator, as Mr. Harrison was, we've seen a lot of our students go through the program. I know some have come back to the Loyalist to coach and I think teach and stuff like that. So that's the cycle that's getting broken. So hopefully things will change, and as Councillor Quince said, pick a good party that's going to really support education.
Thank you. Any other comments from staff? Anybody else have anything? Well, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. I will be spending time with the Premier in the next little while, and I'll certainly make sure he understands where I come from, where we come from. So, yeah, it's a sad day. you know my experience at Loyalist. I'm coming back with Hannah Brown to learn how to sharpen a drill. And if she can do it, I gotta be able to do it, right? So that's my plan. But don't stay open for me because, and you know, when I took that course, it was a good instructor. And it was a general farming course, and he asked us what we'd like to learn. And I put down the wrong thing, because every time I came to class, he had a drill for me to sharpen, every time. And he'd say, well, it's almost, but that's as close as I got. So anyway, Councilor
I'd
McHugh.
just like some direction. Would this be the appropriate time maybe to
Yes, it
suspend
would
the
be.
rules, ask maybe to have the clerk in the future put together a letter of support for Loyalist College, have it sent not only to provincial and federal governments, but maybe get all of our neighboring municipalities from here to Bancroft and back who send students here who are the true rural area, get them in the future, have their councils possibly endorse this letter as well and follow up with letters of their own.
Yeah, and Councilor Stedall seconded it, so we got a mover and a seconder. And any other comments? Anybody else have anything you want to add to it? Otherwise, Councilor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. Would the president suggest like the tuition freeze be lifted in terms of a specific policy ask of the province, or what specifically? Just saying we support Loyalist College feels maybe not enough. I'd like to, what would you look for?
That's more of a political decision, whether it's the grant or the tuition. But one of them has to change. And there is nuances on the grant that the people in Toronto understand that support rural areas a little bit better. But it'd be up to the folks at the Ministry of Colleges and Universities to figure out what the best mechanism is to appropriately fund colleges. But it's also recognizing that the cost of delivery in this area is much more expensive, simply because we can't run 5 sections of a course. The population doesn't allow it, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have the ability to run it, because there's 20 young people in this region that want to learn it, and the workforce needs that skill. And that's part of the dilemma of the cost of delivery that we get into relative to some of these other larger metropolitan colleges.
Councilor McHugh.
Thank you. So, Mark, if I hear you correctly, we should have in there approved funding or appropriate funding to keep Loyalist College and other similar colleges open. I see acting CEO Angelo is pointing at me. He may have some more information on this.
Through your worship, thank you. So I think what we'll do, based on council's direction so far, we'll draft that resolution or resolutions for council. We'll circulate it to Mr. Kirkpatrick for some input and vet that, and we'll bring it back to the March 5th council meeting for your endorsement.
Thank you. Sounds good to me. Sounds good. Any other comments or? Well, thank you very much, and glad to see your cohorts here tonight. It's a pleasure. It's especially seeing Hannah. Like I don't know, this is some kind of makeover here.
She's working hard, doing good work.
You didn't even put me on the spot today.
Well, you could certainly give us. Yeah. Anyways, thank you very much, and it's great to exchange information, and we'll do our best to. As you've already stated, I believe strongly that it's the children right here are the losers. They're the ones that are losing from this, and all of us, from our fire to our paramedics to you name it, nurses, nursing. My daughter went took nursing at Loyalist many years ago. So there's just so much that you offer, and you have offered, and you will continue to offer. We'll do our best to support you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The public input. Anyone for public input? Anybody? Anybody? Nobody? Okay. We'll keep going then. Committee reports, first resolution is staff report 2025-00021 by Caleb Denown, Director of Financial Treasury, regarding PI investment results, fourth quarter 2024 be received. Do you want to make any comments on that, Director Denown?
No, Your Worship, we report quarterly, and it's, don't want to look in too much into any one quarter's financial results, but the long-term financial investments are doing well.
Okay. Question, or?
I would move the report, and I have a comment.
Yeah, just go ahead.
I would echo, is that, I know it was a slow start with these investments at the first year, but to see the results that we've got for this past year, we really need the money, but it's really helpful to see an 8% return. So that's excellent results.
That's sure better than the market's offering for some reason. Anyways, all in favor? Okay. Did I get a mover and a seconder?
I just need a seconder, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder? Well, I think Councillor Reid will second it. Thank you. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. The next one is Staff Report 00022 by Caleb, Director of Finance Treasurer, regarding 23 financial indicator review be received. So I need a, Councillor McHugh moves, seconded by, I need a seconder, Councillor Allier. Any comments or questions on this one? Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Worship. So this report, I think it highlights, if you take a look on page 57, which is the actual FITS financial indicator, which comes from the province, is that we're at a moderate risk for 3 items, which, low risk is what is optimum, but 2 of those are related to debt. So this is highlighting that we do have a problem with our debt here. And, this isn't in comparison to other municipalities of the province. So I think that I know it's buried down pretty deep, and these reports are not really optimum to read. And unless you've actually done, a few hundred of them, then you would probably not look at the numbers. But that moderate risk is concerning. And the other thing too, just a note, and we just, talking about Loyalist College and what we've got here in our rural community, if you take a look at our population growth numbers, there's 3,000 increase from 2019 to 2022, and that's a 7% increase in our population in 4 years. So I think, we've got a lot of growth going on here, and we could definitely support Loyalists. But anyway, this is interesting information to me. I'm not sure if everybody else.
Why it's there too. Anything else? Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. Echo Councillor Stedall's sentiments, and just noticing too, based on 2023 financial information, so possibly even those figures are elevated in terms of the debt servicing and some of those ratios. So it's important to point out and be cognizant of, certainly.
Okay. Councillor Quinte.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, our city does have debt, and certainly from 2023 to 2024, we have even more debt. But I wouldn't want to qualify it as a problem. Like, we are investing in our city services and assets as best we can to continue to provide service to the citizens as best we can with the resources we have. And we all voted to take on the debt. So to say that we're having a problem with it, I can't swallow that. So I just wanted to clarify that this city is in good position. From my point of view, doing the best that we can to maintain our assets and follow the guidance from the province of Ontario with our asset management plan, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well, with even more investment to come forward. So get used to it. Thanks.
What do you need, Josh? You're good?
Need you to call the vote, Mr. Mayor, that's all, if there are no more questions.
Okay. Then C is the next one, staff report. Pardon? Oh, all in favor. Sorry. Okay. All right. All in favor. Carried. Thank you. Then I'm at C.
Yep.
Staff report 00023. Director Denowden, Treasurer, regarding asset change summary impact be received. I think we already talked about it, but I'll have a mover and a seconder for that, and Councillor Stedall moves, seconded by Councillor McHugh. Any comments or questions? Councillor Stedall.
Just a comment about the assessment change. So it's just a total of 1.66. So is there, I mean, we just talked about how there's been good population growth. We know there's housing being built. I'm just wondering why there is the lag in the assessment growth. Is that something, is there something that we're waiting for, or housing starts just not getting, or the occupation not happening with the building permits? I'm just not sure why that number, it seems a little bit low. Am I reading that wrong?
Well, so yeah, you've got residential is at 1.9% on that chart. So if you have a lower percentage, let's say in industrial or farm or commercial, that would bring your average down to 1.66, but we have 1.9 in residential. But I think that would align with our average increase in terms of new residential units.
I thought we had a substantial growth going on here, so I would have thought that if that was the average, the 1.66, that I would have seen, up to a 3% or something like that. So anyway, I just highlighted, I mean, hopefully the housing starts will be coming and we'll be seeing our assessment grow, which will help our tax rates, which will help, keep the cost of repaying our debt down.
Councillor Elliott.
Just maybe a comment to Caleb. I know when we done our house 4 years ago, when it took impact about 2 years to come around and do the reassessment, and then I had a lot of back taxes to pay, and I'm sure other people did. I'm wondering if what their schedule is, how far they're behind in some of the new builds with all the subdivisions, and Minpac covers a big area. It's just not Quinte West, so I think that might have a bit of a play into it a bit too, because I know when I talked to the gentleman that came around at that time, why he said they were behind. So maybe you have a better insight into that, I'm not sure. But I know that was a comment that was made to me. They were running behind to try to get all of them covered. So until they do that, why, I guess we don't get any taxation, only on probably the property that sat there a lot or whatever it was, so.
Yeah, through your worship, we do have a service level agreement with MPAC to get those assessments done as soon as possible. And with our staff now, we've been on it a bit more to get them on even sooner and bug them about it. So we're seeing actually, we had a bigger problem, I would say, like 4 or 5 years ago, and lately we're getting assessments a bit quicker.
Sharp, question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to actually add to what Councillor Allier said, and wondered if what Councillor Stadol brought up was related to that, and I think it's been answered, but I will say approximately 3 or 4 years ago, the MPAC and building permits and MPAC getting those assessments done took a couple of years, sometimes 3, and then you get the tax bills. And now I've noticed with others and neighbors and those building homes, it is getting better. I know we built a home last year and I've got my tax bill. So things have moved along a lot quicker. So I just wanted to comment that there is a improvement there. And I know Director Jardine and Director Denouden would both be happy with that, because it's that whole connection with the building permit and MPAC and finance and taxes. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Well, not thank you.
Anything else we need? You good? All in favor? Thank you. Okay. Okay, the next one that I've got here is 00015 by Riley Walters. Do you want to update us on the asset management policy update? Be received, or anything you want to say about that, or somebody?
Yeah, Your Worship, thank you. So, as you know, our manager of data and asset management, Riley Walters, is working towards hitting our July 1st goal of getting our asset management plans up to date. And that's going to require a bit of work behind the scenes. And some of that work is setting service levels for these different infrastructure asset categories that we have in the city. And so by setting this working group, we'll be able to kind of work through some of the into some of the weeds of setting service levels. And we've got a bit of a policy here, a bit of a strategy on how we're going to go about it and communicate with the public. And so, we're looking for council to endorse this plan, this policy, and appointing the 4 council members outlined in the policy to this working group.
Okay, so we need Right now, we need 4 council members who would volunteer to be on this.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Oh, sorry. If I
In
could
the
speak to it,
report-
Mr. Mayor, they've recommended them here.
Recommended the chairs of 4
Yeah.
committees.
Okay, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
got you, okay, yeah, all right, I got, yeah, okay, that's fine. That's the same thing, only different. Yeah, all right. Okay, so, all in favor of the report, I guess that's, we want to receive the report, and then we'll go to the recommendations.
Well, I'll move the recommendation, but I'd like to speak to it as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'll
Okay.
second it. I'll
Okay,
second the
thank you,
motion.
go ahead, Counselor Sharp.
Thank you. I think this is a good idea, and with the working group, and I understand why those particularly 4 areas, would be, represent council, and certainly it all comes back here anyway. My question is, and you may not know this yet, Director Denouden, but would these meetings be more like every 2 months, maybe an hour or 2? I just want to get, because I'm one of these recommended, how often we'd meet and when you're looking at it. The scope of the work, thank you.
Yeah, so I know Mr. Walters has everything kind of lined up and ready to go, so we're hoping we can start within the next few weeks. I would assume maybe meeting per category, maybe 4 or 5 meetings of an hour long, possibly fewer meetings but longer. We can work with the members to see what works.
Okay, all right. Any other comments?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Counselor Quincy, go ahead.
Although I don't sit as a chairperson for any of the committees, I would be interested in participating if possible.
Okay. So we got 4 committee chairs, you all agree to be there and take part? Anyone disagree? I guess that's, or anyone finds they don't have time, or, so that's my question.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I believe one member is on a leave at this time and is the chair of audit, if
Yeah,
I'm
well-
correct, so I don't think we can speak for
Well,
them.
we'll know in a few weeks.
Yeah,
Okay. So we can still go with the chairs, and if we have to, we'll, okay.
Any reason, we can add, take Don as, Counselor Coetzee as well, if he wants to volunteer, no problem.
Well,
Yeah, sure.
why don't we see what happens?
Well, he still wants to regardless. He
I
get a
know,
fifth,
I
yeah.
know, I know what he's saying, but I'm saying, wait until we get through this month, and then we can look at it again, and, if there's room for one more, we'll do that. Any
Thank you.
problem with, no, okay, so,
Nope.
Counselor Coetzee, they're signaling to me that there's room for another member, so, all right, so we'll take the 4 chairs plus Counselor Coetzee. Okay?
He can be the chair of the chairs.
Chair of the chairs.
Your worship, I'm also interested in this as well. I don't know when the timing is going to be, but I'm quite interested in listening to
Okay.
the levels of service. I don't know, when it's going to meet, or I
I
don't
don't
know.
think we do either, but we'll
Okay.
be glad to include you.
Okay.
And if things don't work, well, that's no
That's
extra charge.
excuse me.
Okay,
Mr.
so right
Mayor?
now,
Sorry.
our committee would include 2, all chair members plus 2 counselors, Counselor Coetzee and Counselor Stedall. Okay, that's what I need in the motion. Counselor Sharp, you agree with?
Well, I just wanted to comment if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, go ahead.
Because we're getting close to it being like a lot of members, quorum, right? And Counselor Quinte sits on the Active Transportation and Safety Committee, longstanding member. I could withdraw, I know I'm the chair of that committee, but Counselor Quinte is a strong member on there, and have Counselor Quinte represent that particular committee, if that worked, Mr. Angelo, and to Counselor Quinte, because really, that committee, we've worked together very closely, so I could recuse myself and be replaced with Counselor Quinte, because I'm good with the committees I have. Thank you.
Listen, that's fine, but I want to see everybody at the first meeting, and then we can do any kind of juggling after that, okay? If you resign from the committee at that time, because all others are there, great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Carried. Okay, I think we're at the minutes, planning minutes from the Planning Advisory Committee meeting held on January 16th. Be approved.
So
Moved by
moved.
Councillor Allier, seconded by Councillor McHugh. Comments or questions? Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. All right, and the planning meeting is tomorrow night?
Yep.
Is that correct?
That's
Next
right,
one?
6 o'clock. Yep.
Do we have a director of planning who'll be there, or? Thank you. Thank you. And, okay, I'm at proclamations, correspondence, resolution, well, there's a number of them there that, we'll take the first one. March 26th be National Epilepsy Day in the city of Quinte West, and further that the Quinte West sign Veterans Skyway Bridge be illuminated in the color purple from March 26th, pending no scheduling conflicts. Mover and the seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Card, second by Councillor Elliott. Comments or questions? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay. Correspondence, printed information. Any questions on anything from the printed information? Okay, moving to
Mr.
second.
Mayor?
Okay, sorry,
Mr.
go
Mayor?
ahead.
I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to say that we got a really nice letter from Quinte Saleability.
Right.
After the city being in support of Quinte Saleability for well over a decade. Like pretty much since I got on council, the city's been supporting Quinte Saleability, and it's really nice to see the nice letter they sent thanking us for our contribution to their assistance. Anyways, that was it.
Thank you. I agree. I don't disagree. Anyone else? I guess all in favor of, thank you, thank you. Okay, then, got a motion here, Councillor Stetta, I'll let you talk to that. I need a mover and a seconder for the motion. Sorry, Zach? You moved it? Seconded? Moved by Councillor Card, seconded by Councillor McHugh. Go ahead, Councillor Stedall.
Thank you, Worship. I won't go through and read the whole resolution. It's printed on the agenda. Suffice to say is that, with our threatened 25% tariffs that are coming in for virtually all of the goods in Canada, and the 10% on Canadian energy, and then the 25% tariffs that are coming for the steel and aluminum import, I just like to see, the reason for the resolution is so that we, we want to make sure that we're supporting buy local, buy Canadian, and that we support any efforts of the Quinte West Chamber of Commerce, the Trenton DBA, and encourage our residents and businesses to join the municipality to purchase locally. I think I know, we had a conversation before the meeting is that, we have been supporting our local community, and we have been supporting the buy Canadian. And that is the thrust of what the City of Quinte West does. That's just how we roll. I know we have a procurement policy, which we have to be careful that we're going to be within the trade guidelines. However, this threat is real, and we need to make sure that we're standing together as, they call it Team Canada. That's what it is. We're not the first one that is asking for this support, or that has a resolution like this. Big city mayors, FCM, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, even in our council report today, the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus has got something. And it's all of the same. We're just trying to get the point across is that remind citizens, remind ourselves, businesses, is that do whatever you can to support your local, to keep our economy rolling. Our economy will continue to roll. I have the utmost faith that it will. I don't believe that these tariffs are going to be the detriment of Canada. However, I think it's important for us to make sure that we do have a voice, and that's the reason for the notice of motion. And again, we're not first, we're not last. We are standing in support with many other people that are asking the same thing. So that's why the resolution is on the table.
I'm going to ask Director Dowden to comment, bring us up to date. You've been here as long as I have or longer, and I know I fly a Canadian flag because I'm a proud Canadian. Go ahead.
Your Worship, so we did just a bit of research on our procurement, because I know the motion speaks to our procurement policy. And I think it's good to talk about our successes. And overall, our policy does allow for purchasing local. When we do get quotes, we often get quotes from local suppliers. And we looked at not only our own results, but even City of Toronto did a report about 10 years ago on how much of their spend is local. And they found that 98% of their spend is already naturally in Canada, and we found that over 99% of Quinte West spend is within Canadian borders. So we do have a lot of our spend most of our spend is local already. So just a good news story.
And I sign the checks. So if I have to sign a check that's going to US, I question before I sign it. So anyways, but I usually sign it. The one area we're buying US services particular.
So software is the main purchase. Yeah, it's less than $300,000 but in total, but mostly some of the big software providers are US companies.
Thank you. Councillor Card.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do strongly support the motion. Spoke to staff a bit earlier in the term. I was working on a buy Quinte motion, somewhat similar, but as Councillor Stedall alluded to, the free trade agreement's relevant federal law. It's not really possible to do. Buy Canadian absolutely is. The tariff threat, I don't want to belabor the points. I'm sure everyone sitting around this horseshoe knows, but some of the numbers from some of the reports I've been reading, one from the Bank of Canada and one from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, so specific to our area, 28% of our GDP is comprised of U.S. exports. U.S. exports are 83% of all of our exports go to the U.S. From the Belleville, Quinte West CMA census area. And they would threaten literally thousands of jobs, dozens of businesses. The Canadian Chamber did a study, I'm sure many people have seen this already, of the 41 largest economic census areas. Belleville, Quinte West was the 11th most negatively affected of all. We're very manufacturing rich and a lot of it exported communities. So this is going to be extremely detrimental to Canada, cutting up to 4% of GDP growth over 2 years, adding 2% of total CPI increases. Very devastating for our community. So I think this is important, if not simply just to, I think the outpouring of nationalism, kind of rallying around the flag effect. I think it's important for, even just as a communications exercise, for the public to be more aware that Quinte West as a corporation, as an institution, is spending so much of the procurement purchasing dollars buying Canadian, and that we are, walking the walk and talking the talk. So I think it's, good motion, important, happy to support.
Councillor Allier?
Yeah, it's just a question to Chris and Caleb. I know you're talking about, and I support the resolution that's before us, but you look at our heavy trucks that we have to buy. They do the bodies up here, but the cabin chassis or even fire trucks, I'm quite sure these tariffs are going to affect that, and maybe even the procurement process, because they don't build Max up in here. International used to have a plant I think it was St. Thomas or around London, and they've closed that and sent it to the States. Freightliner, all the other big names. Do you think, Chris, that'll have a detriment? It's certainly going to cost us more if that 50% is put on, and then Trump was out there today adding some more to other vehicle production and stuff. I just wondered if you have any comment on that. And, we have to wait now a couple of years sometimes to get something. Do you have any comment on that and what you're feeling? And that the financial impact will be there, too.
Through your worship, very good question, Councillor Allier, because I'm not sure what that impact will be in terms of either cost implications or in terms of wait times for vehicles. So I guess we're a bit of a waiting pattern to see what that's going to happen. And I guess we'll see when we put our first set of tenders out for those large vehicles in the next month or so to see what happens on that costing side as well. So.
Thank you. Councillor Stedall, you have any further comments?
Thank you, Worship.
You do have some. You and I talked about them. No?
You may have
You
some
can't tell,
comments,
you
sir.
can't say those comments about
Which-
snowmobiles and about, no? Okay, all right, that's fine. I'll forgive you.
The
But it-
conversation was in regards to, there are some companies in our city that have made some adjustments in their orders to order Canadian instead of ordering from the States. So it is, people are, I have heard that there is some feedback that people are actually doing it, but I won't be specific. Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, yes, you're right. Anything else? I guess I can tell you that I did have a 2024 GMC. And I put a dent in the back corner. And I also broke the taillight. Anyways, when I did that, I took it into a guy to look at it and fix it. And he said, well, that's quite a job because the box on my truck has aluminum in it. So you can't just pull it out and repair it like you would a normal, I guess, a steel box. So that's telling me that these, truck companies that are making these vehicles need aluminum, need the aluminum from Canada. That's, and this is part of this process, so anyways, I got a new truck, there's no dents in it yet. No dents yet,
We need
but,
to vote on the motion. We do vote on the
yeah,
motion.
I know, okay. And my wife isn't driving it, so, all in favor of the motion, I guess.
One comment. I just want to make it clear about point number 1 on the
Yes.
on the notice of motion where it requests the CAO and relevant departments develop a multifaceted buy local, buy Canadian campaign. That may require me bringing a report back to council looking for some additional funds somewhere to develop this, because with the staffing resources we have, we may have to outsource some of that to do that campaign. So there'll probably end up being a staff report coming back to council to look forward to in the future for that as well, so.
Okay, well, I think that's fine. I think that's fine. Okay, all in favor, I guess that's carried, thank you. Okay, I'm at bylaws, right? Bylaws be read first, second, and third time. Need a mover and a seconder. Councilor McHugh moves, seconded by Councilor Sharp. Councilor Quinte, question, anybody question on the bylaws? All in favor? Thank you. I'll sign, and we need a confirmation bylaw,
Check
and,
the screen.
pardon?
Check the screen, those two.
Okay. Any comments from Councilor Reid or Councilor Quinte, or you're good? 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 Okay, we're good. Anything else I've forgotten? Josh? Mr. Clerk?
Yeah, I just need 2 for confirmation, 2 for adjournment, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. Councilor Quinte, he's on both, and Councilor Allier's on one, and Councilor Reid's on the other, so you got lots there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and if you've been praying for snow, please stop. Thank you very much. I'm good. Thank you. And we'll be back, some of us tomorrow. Okay, thank you. We're done. We're finished. We quit.